Have you ever wondered why the UK still has a king? I mean, in a world full of democracies and republics, what's with the crowns and castles? It's a story that's more dramatic than any TV show, full of betrayal, epic battles, and a surprising amount of chaos. It all boils down to one simple human desire: power. To understand it, we need to rewind the clock, way back, past the Tudors, past the Plantagenets, all the way to a time when England wasn't even England yet. Imagine a land divided, not by counties, but by warring kingdoms. This was Anglo-Saxon England in the 9th century. You had Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, East Anglia, a messy patchwork of territories constantly at each other's throats. It was a brutal, uncertain time. And then a new, even greater threat appeared on the horizon: the Vikings. They weren't just raiding anymore, they were invading, conquering, and settling. They called this new territory the Danelaw, and it was expanding fast. By the year 878, only one Anglo-Saxon kingdom was left standing: Wessex, and its king was a young man on the run, hiding in the marshes, his kingdom in tatters. His name was Alfred. Now, Alfred could have given up. He could have fled or bent the knee to the Viking leader, Guthrum. But he didn't. This is where the story of a unified English monarchy truly begins. From the swamps of Somerset, Alfred rallied his forces. He wasn't just fighting for his kingdom, he was fighting for an idea. The idea of a Christian, Anglo-Saxon people, distinct from the pagan Danes. At the Battle of Edington, against all odds, Alfred achieved a stunning victory. He didn't just defeat Guthrum, he did something even smarter. He made a peace treaty, had Guthrum baptized as a Christian, and established a clear border between Wessex and the Danelaw. This victory transformed Alfred from just another king into something more. He became a symbol of Anglo-Saxon resistance and identity. He wasn't just the king of Wessex anymore. He was seen as the protector of all Anglo-Saxons not under Danish rule. He reorganized his army, built a network of fortified towns called burhs, and even established a navy. He also championed education and the English language, translating important texts from Latin so his people could read them. This is why we know him as Alfred the Great. He laid the foundation, but the job of creating England wasn't finished. The task fell to his children and grandchildren. His son, Edward the Elder, and his formidable daughter, Ethelflaed, the Lady of the Mercians, continued the fight. They didn't just defend, they went on the offensive. They systematically pushed back the borders of the Danelaw, reconquering territory piece by piece. They built upon Alfred's network of burhs, creating strongholds and centers of commerce that knitted the kingdom together. It was a slow, generational project, a relentless push to unite the land under the rule of the House of Wessex. They were forging a nation with swords and strategy. And then came the man who would finish the job, Alfred's grandson, Athelstan. Athelstan was ambitious, ruthless, and brilliant. He conquered the last remaining Viking kingdom, the Kingdom of Northumbria, which included the strategically vital city of York. In the year 927, for the first time, all the lands we now call England were united under a single ruler. The various kings of Wales and Scotland came and paid homage to him, acknowledging him as their overlord. At the epic Battle of Brunanburh in 937, Athelstan led a combined army of Anglo-Saxons against an invading coalition of Vikings and Scots. His decisive victory cemented his authority. He wasn't just the king of the Anglo-Saxons, he proclaimed himself Rex Totius Britannia, king of all Britain. Historians consider him the first true king of England. So, from the chaos of warring tribes and the terror of Viking invasions, a single kingdom was forged. It wasn't a peaceful process. It was born from desperation, defiance, and the ambition of one family, the House of Wessex. Alfred the Great provided the spark of hope and the blueprint for survival. His descendants carried the torch, pushing back the invaders and stitching the fragmented lands together. And finally, Athelstan stood atop the conquered territory and declared himself the first king of a united England. This newfound unity was fragile, though. The death of a strong king often led to power struggles and renewed Viking attacks. For the next century, the crown of England was fiercely contested. Kings like Edgar the Peaceful brought stability, while others, like Ethelred the Unready, struggled to contain the constant threat from across the North Sea. This culminated in the Danish king, Knut the Great, conquering England and creating a vast North Sea empire. For a time, England was ruled by Danish kings, but the legacy of Alfred and Athelstan endured. The idea of a single unified England had taken root. When the line of Knut died out, the crown returned to the House of Wessex with Edward the Confessor. But Edward died in 1066 without a child, creating a massive power vacuum. This single event set the stage for one of the most famous dates in English history. 3 different men believed they had a right to the throne, leading to a year of unbelievable bloodshed. An English earl named Harold Godwinson was chosen by the English nobles. But across the sea, 2 others were preparing to invade: the fearsome King of Norway, Harold Hardrada, and a certain Duke from France, William of Normandy. Harold Godwinson, the last Anglo-Saxon king, had to perform one of the most incredible military feats in history. First, he marched his army north to Yorkshire to face the Norwegian invasion. At the Battle of Stamford Bridge, he won a crushing victory against the Vikings. But as the celebrations began, he received news. William of Normandy had landed on the south coast. Exhausted, Harold's army had to force march the entire length of England to face this new threat. On a hill near Hastings, the fate of England was decided. It was a long, brutal, and incredibly close-fought battle. For hours, the Anglo-Saxon shield wall held firm against the Norman cavalry charges. But late in the day, a stray arrow struck King Harold in the eye, and the English resistance crumbled. William the Conqueror had won. William's victory at Hastings wasn't just a change of king, it was a total transformation of the country. He replaced the entire Anglo-Saxon aristocracy with his own Norman lords. He introduced the feudal system, fundamentally changing land ownership. French became the language of the court and government, and the English language was forever altered. He built stone castles all across the country, including the Tower of London, to stamp his authority on his new kingdom. The Anglo-Saxon era was over. The Norman era had begun. But the crown that William placed on his head on Christmas Day in 1066 was the very same crown forged by Alfred and Athelstan. He wasn't starting a new monarchy. He was seizing an existing one. So, when we look at the British monarchy today, we're looking at an institution whose direct lineage can be traced all the way back through William the Conqueror, back through Knut the Great, and ultimately back to that desperate king hiding in the marshes, Alfred the Great. It's a line of succession that has survived civil wars, revolutions, and the rise and fall of empires. The pomp and ceremony we see today are the modern echoes of a story that began over 1,000 years ago, with the simple, brutal, and relentless quest to unite a nation and hold on to power. It's a story that's still being written. Thanks so much for watching. It's a massive topic, and we've only scratched the surface, but hopefully, you now have a better idea of where it all began. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like to see covered. See you in the next one.